All right, Schlockmeister fans, we're going to watch something here from the 70s. It's Satan's Slave. Let's check it out. Our movie starts with a satanic ritual. This is to be our human sacrifice. You're introduced to a couple, I guess. That guy on the right there is Stephen.
Why would I want to do that?
The same reason you lured me to your country retreat in the first place.
Steven's into some kinky shit. He choked her with a pillow. Didn't kill her, but kind of knocked her out a bit. And now he's gonna tie her up, rip off her clothes. She manages to pull away from him.
You're like an animal! You're insane!
Get out of here.
And he doesn't appreciate that. Although he did invite her to leave. When she tries to. Now we meet our main character. This is Catherine.
How many more times?
She's gonna go on a little trip with her parents to see her uncle. It's her dad's brother, Malcolm. Or, I'm sorry, Alexander. We're going to visit.
Oh, I might not come to that. We haven't seen each other since we were kids, remember?
I didn't even know you had a brother.
As they approach the house, they have kind of a slow speed crash. Apparently it really hurt Mom. Catherine's okay, Dad's okay.
Mom?
Catherine goes to get help, and then perhaps that crash was a little worse than we thought. There's Uncle Alexander.
If you want anything.
Francis is his secretary. Parents are apparently dead. And Stephen is Alexander's son, who we met earlier. Stephen and Francis apparently had a fling.
She's my cousin. I have to go and see her.
When you have.
Catherine seems to fancy Stephen, her cousin,
Well,
and vice versa.
I feel we know each other. And yet we don't, if you see what I mean.
Catherine has a problem. She seems to have these premonitions, or they're more like flashbacks, things that happened in the past, perhaps right there on this. She's right, of course. There was a witch, or I guess a witch, who was stripped and killed here. Apparently, if your brother dies on your property, it's okay to bury him in your backyard.
The souls of our dear brother and sister, here departed, we therefore commit their bodies to the ground.
There's a mysterious man in black lurking around, taking a bracelet from Catherine's room while she sleeps. That's John back at Catherine's apartment, and that's a picture of John, and there's that bracelet. Looks very ritualistic to me. As he rides the elevator down, something's happening to him. I guess some evil is about to possess him. Because the next thing you know, he goes to the roof of the building and takes a dive. Ew. You see a flashback to the ritual we saw earlier, but it's just Catherine remembering something in a dream. Lust eventually takes over, and Stephen makes the moves on Catherine, and she's more than willing. I can't show you much more.
She wants to leave. This wouldn't have happened if you'd followed my instructions.
Well, what are we going to do?
You've done enough already. Very soon you'll realize just how much it matters. Tomorrow is Catherine's birthday. We must complete the arrangements.
20th birthday for Catherine.
Blame Catherine for everything. She is the reason you're being kept a prisoner in this house.
There's a grave there.
I'd hardly call myself a prisoner. Oh, you may not realize it, but you are.
And Francis
you have been ever since you came to
is
this
spilling
house.
the beans. We're talking necromancy.
After many attempts, he discovered that the only satisfactory way to resurrect the dead is through the body of a direct descendant. You don't mean me. Catherine, you are a direct descendant of Camilla York.
Stephen saw his mother killed in a ritual years earlier,
Affect his mind for the rest of his life.
which is why he kills all women he sees. Stephen goes after Francis and kills her. A little later on, Catherine finds the body.
You are 20 years old. The age at which Camilla departed from this earth. You deserve to be told something about our sacred lady.
So she's taken out to the woods where there's clearly a ritual about to take place, featuring Uncle Alexander and a bunch of Jawas. Catherine brought a nail file with her, which promptly goes into Stephen's eye.
Oh, no, it can't be.
Tell me what? What you mean?
Convinces her that this is all a dream.
He's dead. I just don't know.
You've had a very long sleep, and you must have had a very bad dream. Right through the eye and into the... Good heavens. You must have a streak of Camilla in you.
The movie ends with her discovering that it's her father who's behind it all. He's the high priest. All right, let's talk about this movie, Satan's Slave. You know, I just picked this up recently on a Vinegar Syndrome sale I think they had for their Memorial Day weekend. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of decent. So I picked it up. Turns out I already had the film. I had it on a compilation DVD with 50 movies or something like that. And I actually watched it a few years ago, and I just didn't remember it at all. So, but here we go, Satan's Slave. It is an American, actually, it might be British film, actually, starring Candace Glendenning or something like that. Kind of a pretty actress. This is the last theatrical thing she did. And she is with her boyfriend, John, and she decides she's going to go visit her uncle. Her parents say, hey, let's go visit Uncle Alexander. He lives out in the country somewhere. So she drives with her parents, and on the way there, they crash their car, and it looks she's in the back seat. She gets out. It's right in front of Alexander's home, too, but they crash the car into a tree. She gets out. Mom is hurt. Dad looks like he's okay. She goes in to get help, and then the car explodes. So this woman, Frances, she's the secretary to Alexander, comes out, and Alexander's son, Stephen, comes out too, and they take her inside, and the parents are presumed dead. She decides to stay there a while. They actually have a funeral in the backyard. I guess it was okay to bury people in your backyard back then. I don't know. But they gave her a sedative, and by the time she wakes up, the car is all gone. Everything's cleaned up. It's all very fishy, if you ask me. Anyway, her cousin, Stephen, we see a couple things that he does. One of the opening scenes of the movie, he's fast forward a little bit here, but he's with this woman, and they were about to make love or something, and then he ends up choking her, not killing her, but choking her to the point where she's hurting. Lets her go, then he cuts off her clothes and stuff, and her bra and her panties and stuff, and then he screams, get out of that, whatever. So she decides to leave, and then he slams her face in the door, killing her. So he's got some sort of sadism stuff going on there, but whatever. Anyway, and then actually the secretary, Frances, walked in and saw the aftermath of this and really didn't do anything, but then the scene cut away. So that was an early scene. We're like, what the hell's going on here? But anyway, I fast forward back to, shit, I forgot her name. She's at this house. The actress played by what the hell? I'm totally losing my mind here. But anyway, she wakes up. Her parents are dead, and she keeps having these visions of satanic things that happened years earlier and such. And at one point, she starts to also have affection for her cousin, Stephen, and they start making out, and they make love and have sex. And I think the secretary, Frances, is a little jealous of that because they had a relationship, she and Stephen did, for a while, and he kind of got rid of her when his cousin came around. So she decides to tell her everything that happened here. You're getting these visions of some satanic stuff that happened 100 years earlier, that sort of thing. And then Frances gets killed by Stephen. And then it turns out that this is all a kind of a plot to she is a descendant of some woman who was killed 100 years earlier, and she's going to have her 20th birthday is when the woman died years earlier. She died on her 20th birthday. So this is somehow going to resurrect her or something like that. So she has to be used in this satanic ritual. So she finally figures out what's going on. Frances is killed by Stephen, and then she runs into her father. And she's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, it was just a dream you were having. Come back inside. She thinks, he convinced her basically that everything is fine. Your mother's fine. This is all a dream. But they get back in the house. And then it turns out it's not really her uncle Alexander and Stephen who's doing this. It's her father who is like doing all this satanic stuff. They lead her out into the woods, and then she takes a nail file and cuts Stephen's eye, kills him. And that's when she ran into her father afterwards. At the end of the movie, she screams when she realizes her father's in charge of all this, and that's how the movie kind of ends. So I guess she's going to be sacrificed or whatever to resurrect this woman from 100 years earlier or something. Such is Satan's slave. So anyway, again, I had seen this movie before, but I had no memory of it. Apparently, the producer of the film, his wife, was needed in the beginning. They'd hired a woman to do the first satanic ritual we see, which required nudity, but she got arrested apparently on the day of filming or the day before, so she wasn't available. So the producer said, you know what, I'll have my wife sit in for her. And the wife didn't want to do it, but she was eventually coaxed into doing it completely nude. So there you go. There's a few other nude scenes scattered throughout, and some decent gore scenes as well, especially the scene when the guy jumped off the roof. That was a nasty scene. But yeah, decent gore, decent nudity, and a somewhat enjoyable film. I know nothing great, but I'd watch this again. Yeah, it's just a nice little flick. Again, I don't know where this came from. Never really heard of this back in the day, but again, it's been, I guess, in public domain hell on these compilation DVDs, and now Vinegar Syndrome put a nice Blu-ray out of it. It's not a bad film. You should check it out. So there you go. It's Satan's Slave. I'm curious if anybody else has seen this thing. A cast of virtually no one, but not a bad film. Check it out. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think about Satan's Slave. I will leave a link to it down below if you want to buy it on Amazon, and you should. Check it out. Watch it. Bye.